So I thought that we would just walk around the garden a little bit today. Because of the extreme heat that we've had, we're kind of transitioning a little early in the garden. Some things are dying back a little earlier than they normally would, but that's no big deal. Every year in your garden is going to be different, so you just kind of roll with the flow. But I have some things that are doing really, really good. This is my asparagus patch. It's the first year for my asparagus patch. This is the second, maybe even the third time that I've tried it, but I finally got it to come in. And got two different types, and this one here is starting to put out seeds, so that means it's really established itself and is doing really, really good. Now it will be 2, maybe 3 years before I actually get asparagus shoots up that we can eat. But in fact, even if it comes in next year, I'll probably just let it go until the 3rd year so that it can really establish, get its roots in real good, and I'll have a plant that'll last me my lifetime. I heard a story of a man who went back to his grandparents' house who had a big asparagus patch that he remembered when he was a child, and he went back to their old house. That patch was still there, and he got him some of it and took it back home so he would have his grandparents' asparagus in his yard. I just thought that was amazing. Those are stories that I love to hear, you know, about childhood memories, and then this one even, because he was able to bring it home. I thought that was really cool. Oh, and before I walk off, this is my bay leaf. This is the 3rd year for my bay leaf. It was just a small little cutting about like this from another person's tree at the nursery where we go to in West Waco, kind of on the edge. But I got bay leaves off of it last year. They're in my jar, and I dried them, and they're in my jar at home. So I'm using bay leaves from my own tree now. And these things get huge. So I thought it would be great for the asparagus to be an understory around. This is something that is suffering from the heat. It's not dying out. It's just not as good a patch as it normally is. This is my goji berries. Now I have new flowers on it, so I'm fixing to get another patch of goji berries, and I've already gotten a big bag that I've put in the freezer. So I have to put those in my smoothies. I'll eat them right off the tree when I have them, but it's normally a lot greener, a lot lusher, and it's not so right now. But it's not dying. It's just taking a little break because of the heat. It's going to come back. It's already starting to come back. The bees doing their job. Now in this area, this hoop right here normally has cucumbers going all over it. The cucumbers are done. Didn't really get that great of a cucumber harvest this year, because normally this time I'm still getting cucumbers. But what I was getting was bitter, so it wasn't doing any good. So I pulled it all up, and I am going to replant. So cucumbers are done, gonna replant. Here's something else that he's done. These are the beans, and these were experiments. These were green coffee beans from Africa, and it was kind of an experiment. I mean, if you can grow coffee beans in your yard and have your own coffee, that would be awesome. Didn't do too great, but I did get some that were seed for next year, so that I can try it again next year, because next year the seeds that I took from these plants will be more acclimated to my area, and so next year maybe I'll get a better harvest, or a better plant. So I'm going to try it again next year, but for right now these two are fixing to come up.
Okay.
This is the bed that I just threw the black-eyed peas on. They're starting to come up. I've got two sections. This one we put the hoops on to kind of give it some shade from the sun. And this was left open. We'll see what it does in the heat. Honestly, if they come up in this area, these will be the better plants. And I will save seed from these, because if they can survive the heat and come up and actually give me black-eyed peas, that's a really good thing. These are some really good seeds, and they are coming up. Now I have grass that's coming up in here too, and you know, some weeds. I'm not going to mess with them right now because I don't want to risk pulling the black-eyed peas up with them. And when the black-eyed peas do come out and bush over, they're going to smother those out anyway, but I can take care of that at a later time, so I'm not really concerned about it right now. The main thing I'm worried about is my soil. But the black-eyed peas are starting to come up, more so in the shade, which was expected, but in this area also they're coming up. And you know, that's something that you need to do in your garden. Experiment. Make it fun, you know, experiment. Don't do the things the same way you do all the time. See how things work better. Do they work better in the shade? Do they work better in full sun? Plant things in two different areas so that you can see how they do in those areas. And sometimes they'll do better in one, sometimes they'll do great in both, and you've just got it in both areas. So that's experiment in your gardens. Make it fun, and that way garden doesn't get boring, you don't get burnt out. This is the Egyptian spinach. Now last year I had one Egyptian spinach. It grew to be about this tall, and I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of seeds out of that Egyptian spinach. This year I've got quite a big patch, so I'll get a whole lot of other seeds. But more important than that, which the seeds are very important, I'm getting a lot of greens. And the thing about Egyptian spinach is you come in here and, can you get down here and see this? I'm going to take this green to eat, and you see this coming out, it's going to bush back out. So I'll have more coming out. Everywhere you take a leaf of your Egyptian spinach, it's going to bush out. So now I did that one from the top. I normally do it from the bottom, and I do it all the way around so it somewhat stays even. I'm kind of OCD that way, but so never think that you're going to strip your plant. Unless you take it all off at one time, you're not going to strip this plant. It's going to put back out for you, and it's going to just keep giving you greens until the cold gets it. This is an area that is starting to transition a little earlier. These beans are done. They've done their job. I'm fixing to take them up, get this cleared out, and I may plant something else here and I may not. I don't know, we'll just have to see. But these are fixing to come up, and this is a lot of biomass for either chopping and dropping, which is probably what I'm going to do, or putting in the compost. Either one. This is some great stuff to be doing. And I wanted to show you another thing. We'll talk about chop and drop. This is one of my longevity spinach, and there's some leaves that are not looking so great. So I want to take those off. That way, the life force of this plant is not going into trying to recuperate these leaves, which are not going to recuperate. But that's just what the plants do. They put the life force through the leaves, and these are done. So I pulled these out, and I'm not going to throw them away, and I'm not going to take them to the compost. I'm going to put them back up under the plant. So that's in basic chop and drop. I'm going to take that, put it back under the plant. It's going to compost in place. It's going to put vitamins and minerals back into this plant and help it be healthy and strong. Now this is a bean that I really like. This is the first year that I have grown this purple Chinese long bean. And it's not putting out a whole lot right now, but it's putting out enough that I can have a good stir fry. this will go good in a stir fry. But look how long these beans are, and they have some really good flavor. I really like them, and my husband likes them. But these are going to go in a stir fry today, along with a few other things that are coming out of the garden. But it's not over yet. It still has blooms all over it. It's still growing, and you can see that it's got beans coming up here. So it's fixing to put out another good set of beans. But I'm thinking that I'm going to plant some more, and just to see if they're going to come back out, give me another good harvest before winter comes in. And there again, I'm just playing around, having fun in my garden, experimenting, and that's what you want to do. Experiment in your garden and make it fun. So I'm going to, on the other side, I've got squash that is done and has got to come up. So over there, I'm going to plant some more of the purple long beans, and just to see if I can get them to come back out and get a good harvest before winter comes in. I really ought to. I mean, the only thing that would keep it from is the heat right now, but that area is got a little bit of shade in a certain part of the day, and so I'm thinking that it'll do really good. We'll see. I'll let you know. This area of the garden, it's a totally new area, so everything over here is new. We had a bed of radishes right here because it's right outside the door, and that's really where you want things like that. But we got them up. They went to seed. I got a lot of seeds off of the radishes. But I wanted to really work on the soil on this bed, so when I got all the radishes out, I planted black-eyed peas. I sowed them here. They're coming up. And so underneath, they're fixing nitrogen in my soil. And when they've done their job, which they're going to give me black-eyed peas, but when they've done their job, I'm going to chop them, I'm going to leave them in place, and then next year, this area will be really, really rich, really good. Any place that you would like to do that with, really work on the soil, plant you some black-eyed peas. Not only do you get the food from it, but it really helps your soil. Before you plant peas, beans of any kind, you want to soak them. You want to soak them for at least 2 hours. I soak mine overnight. They get the moisture put back in them, they swell up, they have all the water in them that they need to put out and to come up, bloom, grow. That's what they need. So soak them overnight. I soak them overnight. They say you can do it for 2 hours, but I do it overnight because I really want the moisture, especially in the Texas heat. I really want the moisture in them before I put them in the ground. And then sow them in, and you'll have some really good, healthy plants. Just remember to water them in really, really good when you first put them in. And then do your regular watering after that. Until they break ground, you really don't want your soil to get dry. That being said, that's almost impossible here in Texas right now, is to not let the soil get dry. So I water them in really, really, really good every day. And so, and that's sufficient. You can see it's sufficient, it's working. So I make sure they're really watered in. When I first put them in, I water them in the morning, then I water them in the evening. As soon as they bust the ground, I'm just watering them once a day. And that's basically what I'm doing in my whole garden. I'm just watering once a day. But I've got a lot of mulch down, which is a lot of protection from the sun. So underneath, it holds the water in a little better than most because of that mulch that I have. And that's why you want to put mulch in your garden. It protects your soil, it holds in the water, it protects your plants. Something that I've done right here, and something to think about, is these are new plants. These are fig trees. And they're just tiny little sprouts. And they're a lot bigger than they were. They were about, you know, like this, both of them, and they're growing. But what I've done is I've put them in the downspout. I've got this base right here where I've put them in the downspout, and when it rains and that water goes in, it soaks up from the bottom. When I water this in the daytime, I will of course water the top, but then I fill up that bottom area so that it can soak up from the bottom, gives it just that little extra. When it rains, it really gets in there and gives them some good water. I did that because they were stressing. I'm not ready to plant them yet. I want them to get a little bigger before I put them in the ground. I'll probably let them overwinter in these pots. May actually put them in some larger pots. Let them overwinter, and maybe next year I will plant them out into the yard. I got these last year, so they're slow growing. They're a white fig, so they're a specialty fig, and I'm really not wanting to lose them, so I'm not in a hurry to get them out. So I'm going to let them overwinter in pots. I'll take them into the sunroom so that they'll be happy in the weather, and then next spring, we'll probably plant them in the ground somewhere in the yard. I don't know where in the yard, but I'll figure that out when it's time to plant. So that was not a full tour of the garden. I just wanted to point out specific areas for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted you to see that sometimes it takes a while to establish something into your garden.
Hey, sweetie.
Hey, my husband Stan.
Hello.
Sometimes it takes a while to establish something in your garden. We worked really hard for the asparagus.
Yes, we did. We worked several years, but it was good.
Yeah.
It's a good trial and error.
Yes, and it will be worth it when we're getting our own asparagus.
Because I love asparagus.
Yeah, we do. We love to grill it. I love to bake it. I love it in salads.
Just
pickled.
Just pick and eat it raw.
Yeah, I just love asparagus.
Yes, yes, yes.
And also, things die out, and sometimes they do it earlier than you would expect it. I would expect my beans to still be going and giving me beans, but several of them have decided not to, and because of the heat, I'm sure that's okay. Pull them up. They're still going to serve a purpose. It wasn't a waste because you've got that biomass that you can chop and drop and feed your soil, or put in your compost and, you know, compost back into soil. Either way, it's good for your soil.
Yes, it is.
So, also to show you to experiment, have fun, make gardening fun. It shouldn't be a drudgery. And if it's a drudgery for you, it's going to be a drudgery for your family, and it shouldn't all be about just getting food. Yes, that is the number one reason we want food. We want healthy food full of nutrition and vitamins and all the good things that make our bodies healthy.
But we have fun. We get out here with our grandkids. Our daughter comes over, and we just get out here, and we have fun with the grandbabies. And our daughter, she just enjoys getting out here, getting into stuff, picking stuff. It's grocery shopping.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's like me. She loves squashes. She could eat squash every day. She loves it. So, and that's good because I grow a lot of it because I love it. And I have a lot of extra for everybody.
All shapes, colors, and styles.
Yes.
It's good. Good.
Yep. And the grandbabies, the younger grandbabies love it. And they love playing in the garden.
Yes,
I mean,
they do.
how awesome is that your grandbabies want to play in the garden? They're going to grow up in a garden, so it's going to be a totally natural thing for them. So when they grow up and they have a home of their own, hopefully they'll have a garden for their family and do the same thing. That's why you want to make it pretty. You want to make it fun. You want to have things in it other than the food, like I talked about the other day, the stones or statues, or definitely sitting areas. I've got lights all through it, just things that make it beautiful, make it fun. Day and night. We have a lot of fun in the garden in the evening.
Yes, yes. The little ones, they like getting out here because it's a force to them. The plants are bigger than them. They get out here and hide in it, and they play jungle. They just love it. And I love watching them.
And speaking of the forest thing, you know, why have we gone from raised beds, which we're not going to get rid of, excuse me, raised beds, which we're not going to get rid of, to the food forest? Why have we done that? We've done that because that's more
natural.
More natural. That's what you're going to find in nature. When you go out into the woods, to the forest area, there's not going to be boxes everywhere where you've got the soil built up and things are in there every so often.
And everything all neat and separated and pulled back from the plants. It's just all pretty.
and in rows. You're not going to find that.
No.
You're going to have clumps of stuff here and clumps of stuff there. You're going to have leaves and stuff all on the ground.
Natural composting.
Yes. So and that's rich soil
Yes.
when it's done like that. And that's what we want, because the richer your soil is, the more nutrition you're going to have in your food.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. And that's why we've gone to the food forest type. I mean, we're not as food forest as a lot of people, but
We're getting there.
we're getting there, and eventually we will be. Now, we've been gardening for years and years and years and years, but this really is the
Really the first
year for the
that we-
food forest.
Yes, first year that we've gone to this extent, and next year is going to be even bigger, larger, more plants and fruit trees. I can't plant enough fruit trees. Like I said earlier, I think I've got 40 fruit trees out here, but that's nowhere near enough. I want more.
You know how some people, every time they come home, they're bringing a pet? He brings a fruit tree.
Yes, I can't get enough.
Everywhere we go, it's, maybe they've got some fruit trees.
Yeah,
Let's see if they've got fruit trees.
Yeah, one that we don't have. Gotta have something you don't have. I got bee flying around me. If y'all want to know why I'm looking around like I am, I got a bee.
Which is a good thing. We want
Yes,
those in our
yes,
garden,
yes,
so
yes.
we're sure not going to
No,
harm
no,
it
no,
or
no.
shoo it away.
No,
we want
no,
those.
no.
So, just give you a little insight of the garden. Like I said, it wasn't a full tour.
When we'll get back over here. Talk to y'all later.
It wasn't a full tour. Everybody does that. You've seen gardens, so maybe you do want to see the whole garden. We could do that at some time. I just wanted to show you certain areas, just to bring out certain things that we've worked hard for, things that are kind of stressing, things that are ready to go away, some experiments that I'm doing, and just to encourage you to get out into your garden, have fun, make it beautiful, and be a scientist. Experiment with your food and your growing. Have fun. Bring your children, your grandchildren if you have it, in on it, and let them do it. It's something that they'll actually be able to talk about at school. We're doing a journal with the grandbabies this summer, and that's something that they're going to be able to take to their science class when they go back to school. So that's a good thing. Thank you for joining me. Give me a thumbs up, share the